Welcome to Datascience.show, the podcast where data science meets executive leadership. We talk with top AI and analytics thought leaders about turning data into real business impact. If you're a C-level leader or data expert shaping the future, you're in the right place.
Welcome to Datascience.show, where data science meets leadership. I'm Mirko, and today we're talking about something every executive should rehearse: AI incident simulations. Imagine a flash sale pricing engine that suddenly underprices thousands of items overnight. Revenue drains, margins evaporate, customers notice, and the company scrambles. Now ask yourself, who owns the decision to pause the model? Who talks to customers? How fast do we recover? If those answers aren't practiced, the cost is not just financial, it's reputational, regulatory, and strategic.
Quick promise up front. By the end of this episode, you'll have a C-suite playbook, practical steps to design lightweight AI incident simulations, a prioritized 30-90-day rollout plan, and a tabletop script template you can adapt to your org. No glorified checklists, board-ready metrics, and decision gates you can act on.
Why run these simulations? Because AI failures are different from classic IT outages. They can be subtle, gradual, and context-dependent. Drift that sneaks in over weeks, generative agents that hallucinate at scale, or automation that encodes bias into customer decisions. Executives already rehearse cyber incidents. AI requires its own rehearsals, so decision-makers experience the ambiguity before it hits the press or the regulator.
A quick note on credibility. I've run incident simulations with Fortune 500 analytics teams and advised boards on converting tabletop outcomes into concrete governance changes. What works is not theater. It's disciplined scenario design, clean decision authorities, and metrics that executives trust. Expect pragmatic trade-offs. We don't add bureaucracy. We reduce recovery time and uncertainty.
Let's start with what to simulate. There are 4 high-value scenario families. Model drift that degrades outcomes silently. Hallucinations or erroneous outputs in customer-facing generative agents. Data privacy leaks and inadvertent exposure. And biased or discriminatory automated decisions. For each, map severity tiers: minor operational friction, measurable financial loss, legal regulatory exposure, and systemic brand damage. Ask, what's the business impact at each tier, and which scenarios are most plausible for your product or process?
A practical way to prioritize. Cross-reference impact versus likelihood, and then layer in the speed of propagation. A low-probability, high-impact pricing error that propagates to millions of transactions in an hour deserves high priority. A slow drift in a back-office forecasting model that gradually increases forecast error over months might be next on the list because it erodes trust. Don't treat every scenario the same. Focus exercises where decisions must be fast and visible.
Designing the tabletop. Start with a believable trigger. Triggers must be realistic, time-bounded, and information-constrained. For example, at 10 a.m., Ops flags a 12% variance between expected and delivered prices in the pricing pipeline. Customer complaints begin to surface. Telemetry shows anomalies in feature distributions. That's concrete. Avoid abstract frames like model misbehaves. You need data points for decisions.
Next, role-play decision gates. Who is empowered to pause a model? My recommendation for executives: define a small set of binary gates with measurable thresholds. For instance, if revenue impact exceeds X% per hour, or if false negatives exceed a threshold, the model must be paused, automatically or by the accountable owner. Combine automated safety hooks with an explicit human escalation path. Simulations should force those calls, so decision-makers feel the pressure before real incidents.
Let's talk RACI in plain terms. The model owner, usually product or ML engineering, executes technical mitigation. The head of analytics, or CDO, owns impact assessment and rollback recommendations. General counsel owns legal risk and regulator notifications. The head of comms owns external messaging. The CEO or delegated executive owns final decisions on customer notifications and public disclosures. Run through that RCAI in the exercise and surface any ambiguous handoffs. Those are what slow recovery.
Communications and legal coordination are not afterthoughts. In one anonymized vignette, a company paused a recommendation model, but communications had no agreed template. Hours passed while lawyers and comms drafted language. Customers speculated, the outage trended, and regulators opened questions. The fix: pre-approved disclosure templates for different severity tiers, and a standing legal playbook on evidence preservation that preserves logs and model versions for audits without compromising investigations.
Measuring readiness. Executives will ask for board-ready metrics, so give them MTTR for model incidents, decision latency, time from trigger to executive decision, and a cost of failure proxy, such as estimated hourly loss or customer churn risk. Add observability coverage, percent of critical models with telemetry that can detect drift within a business-relevant window. Those metrics let the board ask the right questions without getting lost in technical detail.
Post-mortems and learning loops matter. Every simulation should end with a structured debrief. What went well, what decisions were delayed, which thresholds were unclear, and what governance changes are required. Convert those findings into two outputs: a prioritized change backlog with owners and an executive memo with funding asks framed in anticipated MTTR improvements or reduced exposure. Executives respond to dollars and time saved. Frame recommendations that way.
Organizationally, these exercises build cross-functional trust, not extra paperwork. The mistake I see is turning simulations into a compliance tick box. Instead, use them to clarify authorities, improve observability, and align incentives. Training cadence should match risk velocity: quarterly for public-facing models, semi-annual for internal models, with a rolling program of smaller, focused simulations between full tabletops. Now, your 30-90-day rollout plan. Days 0 to 30, identify 3 critical models, assemble a stakeholder roster, and draft 2 scenario scripts, 1 high-impact rapid scenario and 1 slow drift scenario. Day 30 to 60, run the first tabletop with senior execs, capture decisions, and quantify MTTR baselines. Day 60 to 90, implement top 3 mitigations from the debrief, defined decision gates, a disclosure template, and 1 automated safety hook. Budget frame. Pilot costs are small relative to potential losses. Present the ask as a risk reduction initiative tied to expected MTTR improvement. I'm going to leave you with 3 actionable items you can take this week. 1. Pick the single most visible model in your product and map its business impact if it fails. 2. Convene a 90-minute tabletop with the model owner, legal, comms, and 1 executive who can decide. 3. Capture decision latency in that exercise so you have a baseline MTTR. If you do those 3 things, you will have turned abstract risk into a measurable, fundable program.
For a tabletop script template, the prioritized 30-90-day plan, and sample disclosure language, visit datascience.show/downloads. Use the materials to accelerate your pilot. Adapt the scenarios to your industry and scale. And remember, rehearsing decisions is the fastest way to reduce recovery time and restore stakeholder confidence.
That's the practical end of the playbook. If you'd like a follow-up episode, we can walk through a mock tabletop live and annotate the script in real time. Send a note on LinkedIn or email the show. I read the messages. Thanks for listening. That's the difference between models and value.
Thanks for listening to Datascience.show. If you found value in this episode, subscribe, share it with your network, and join us next time as we explore how data science drives smarter decisions and better business outcomes.